Welcome to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe. I'm here with co-host CGO or George. Today is the 20th of March, 2026, the first day of spring. And if you have not, please subscribe on whatever channel you follow us on. We release shorter form on Instagram and TikTok and longer form on YouTube every day. Now, today, in top of being the first day of spring, was also a game between Manchester United and Bournemouth that ended 2-2. The first goal was a Manchester United penalty, which was a clear penalty. No one complaining there. I forget if Bournemouth scored next, but a couple minutes later, there was Bournemouth scored next, also pretty good goal. A couple minutes after that, I think there was a incident with Ahmad in the box with one of the Bournemouth defenders that Manchester United felt that should have been a penalty. A couple minutes after that, Bournemouth scored an own goal. Towards the end of the game, there was an incident where Harry Maguire did what to many looked, George and I will talk about our thoughts on this, to many thought looked like a very similar foul to the non-Manchester United penalty earlier in the game. Harry Maguire gets a red card. Bournemouth equalizes 2-2. And the game ends 2-2. Now, George, I know you watched this entire game. My first question to you, did the refs get the three big penalty calls right? Actually, I'm going to say two, because I don't think the actual Manchester United penalty was controversial whatsoever. That was a bad tackle. The next two, were they penalties?
The truth is the penalty call that is from the foul on Ahmad Diallo, for me, is a penalty. But I don't know why the referee didn't call that, because you notice the referee was contemplating if to blow it as penalty or not, and then I think he allowed play to continue, and allowing play to continue led to the equalizer by Ryan Christie from Bournemouth. You notice that the Manchester United Manchester United players were protesting why the referee didn't award the penalty. AR reviewed it and didn't see it as a penalty. But if we are being honest, that was a penalty, because the guy really pushed Ahmad Diallo in the box. That would have been awarded as a penalty. But this is part of what we keep talking about the Premier League. The inconsistency that normally happens when it comes to referees' decision is always a problem. Even the VAR sometimes, who are supposed to have a better view of what has transpired, sometimes they don't even help the referee. They don't help the on-field decisions. So it's quite unfortunate that they allowed that to happen. For me, Manchester United were denied a second penalty in that game. And then the penalty that Bournemouth got, which resulted into the equalizer, the penalty was converted by Junior Krupia. That was a penalty also, because Harry Maguire prevented the Brazilian guy, what's his name again? Evan Nilsson, a scoring opportunity. So that is a straight red card. So there is no argument about that. So that penalty was well-deserved penalty from Bournemouth.
George, I will say, I think I'm with you on the Maguire one. Maguire clearly made no play on the ball, clearly tackled Evan Nilsson, clear red card, clear penalty, denying of a goal scoring opportunity. Of course, in the box, if you make a legitimate play on the ball, you can't get a red card and a penalty. But Harry Maguire had zero chance of the ball. Now the Ahmad situation, I do think more often than not that's called a penalty. If we're being consistent with the Premier League, there is contact. I think Ahmad goes down easy. I think that I've seen those called as not a penalty. I think that there's hand pushing that I think that should be allowed in this game, and that the defender, maybe he goes a little further than I think is wise, but I also think Ahmad's looking for it. I think the Harry Maguire situation is clearly worse, and I don't think this is a consistency issue. People conflating Maguire's the same thing as Ahmad, I feel like is wrong, incorrect. I feel like there are levels to this. One is clearly much worse contact that caused the player to go down, who was in a much better position to score too. And the Ahmad situation was, I felt like, maybe a little harsher, maybe a little more contact than I would think is wise. But
the issue is that the one for Harry Maguire, there's no argument about that, was very clear. The one for Ahmad Diallo, some people might argue that Ahmad Diallo fell down so easily But if you ask me from my own observation, the push, that guy deliberately pushed him. So that's why I feel it should be a penalty. But the referee thought otherwise. Maybe he felt, like you said, Ahmad Diallo fell down so easily. So probably that was why he decided not to award the penalty, because you notice he contemplated award it or not. You will
Yeah.
notice the reaction of the referee. It was obvious that he was not too sure if he should award or not. So that was why I allowed play to continue,
You
hoping
know,
that maybe VAR will do the job. But VAR also agreed with what the referee's decision was.
I'll compare this to two situations we talked about a couple weeks ago where Tottenham fans felt that they were, how do I say, wrong done by the referees because Kolo Muani had a goal pulled back against Arsenal. For I felt like was probably a little less contact than the Ahmad situation.
Yes,
And then
yes.
the following week, Tottenham had a goal scored against them where I think it was Harry Wilson scored, but I think Raul Jimenez had pushed one of the Tottenham defenders in the build-up or something, and the same level of contact. That was a consistency issue because it was the same. This, I feel like, again, as long as it's consistent, nobody cares. I feel like I'm okay with this not being a penalty. I'm okay with this being a penalty as long as it's consistent, as long as players know if I get X amount of contact on me, I should go down. As long as defenders know this is how much contact I can apply. I think a part of this game is always both sides are always going to try and game the system and get as close as they can to that line without going over it as possible. That's a part of finding these margins as elite athletes. Yeah, like you said, I'm arguing that this is debatable and not a clear-cut Stonewall penalty, and I think you at least agree with me there, even if you do think it should be a penalty. You agree that it's somewhat debatable.
Yeah. The first goal that even Manchester United scored, for me, Jimenez was the one who made a very terrible blunder, because it's more like he handed Manchester United a gift. Because why foul somebody? Because you have a defender who is already in front of Acuna. So why are you fouling the guy? So it was a careless and very unnecessary foul he committed in the penalty box, which resulted in that penalty.
George, question for you. Do you feel like the refereeing impacted the game? Do you feel like 2-2 is fair on the balance of the game in terms of chances and play?
For me, ending in a draw was just the fair result for both sides, because there was no team that was dominant between both sides. It was more just Manchester United played well, Bournemouth also played well. So it's neither here nor there. Both of them, I think it was a balanced game, if you ask me. I remember when both sides played at Old Trafford, it ended in a 4-4 draw. So that's one funny thing about these two teams playing each other. So what it means is that this season, both of them playing each other has resulted in 12 goals. So Manchester United and Bournemouth have given the Premier League 12 goals this season. That is confronting themselves in both legs. So my own prediction is unfortunate we didn't talk about yesterday. I was predicting a draw for this game. So
Okay.
I wasn't surprised it ended in a draw. Even when Manchester United got the red card, that is Harry Maguire got the red card in 78th minute, I was still very sure that Manchester United will end up getting a draw in that game. That was just what I felt before the game.
Yeah, no, it's quite. I think Dominic Irola has done a great job with this Bournemouth team. They lost, I think they have one defender out of the back line of 5 staying with the team last year. They had Kepa last year. They had Huijsen on Madrid. They had Kirkes in Liverpool. I think one of their defenders went to PSG. So this team is a lot of turnover, a lot of good play. I think Kluivert and Evan Nielsen have done wonderful this season. I think it's just a well-coached team. If I'm a top team, if I'm a Tottenham, I'm looking at him this coming summer. I'm surprised they went after Frank instead of Irola last year.
No, honestly, that guy is doing a very good job, because look at, they have a lot of players, and most of their regular players that are injured. The likes of Kluivert is not playing. Even Tyler Adams is not playing. These are key players of Bournemouth, but they are not available. They lost the likes of Dean Houston, Real Madrid, and then these other defenders of theirs that went to PSG. We had the KKs going to Liverpool. They lost quality players. Even in January, they lost somebody like Antoine Semenyo to Manchester City, but yet they still look very formidable. It's not a team you can just come and just say you want to defeat. If you play
No,
against Bournemouth, you must prepare for a very tough game. The
I
last
think
time they lost a game, I think it was against Arsenal at the Vitality Stadium. I think that's the last time they lost a game in the Premier League. Shows you how very strong they are. I think that was in December, if I'm not wrong, or is it January the 1st? I know it's been a very long time they lost a game. So Bournemouth is a very tough team you play against. You don't find it easy when you play against them. It's a
yeah. And
very, very
now
tough team.
Irola could end up on any number of teams. I mean, again, there's a lot of bigger teams than Bournemouth, and who knows? Last year, I think he probably, if he wanted to, he could have left and gone to a bigger team. Maybe it was Spurs, maybe it would have been somebody else, but he's done a fantastic job, and he deserves that opportunity wherever he goes. I'd be excited to see what he can do, whether it's with a more stable Bournemouth roster or maybe a club with a bigger budget. He's done exciting things. Now, George, let's move on to there's 8 other Premier League games this weekend because there's the Carabao Cup final. We've already previewed that. We'll do a little more of a preview tomorrow. Let's talk about the 8 Premier League games preview. We have Brighton, Liverpool, Fulham, Burnley, Man City, Palace. Sorry, that's not on. Leeds, Brentford, Everton, Chelsea. Man City, Palace is not happening.
Yes.
Newcastle, Sunderland, Aston Villa, West Ham, and Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest. Which of these games most excites you, George?
That's Everton versus Chelsea. Yeah, that's the one that interests me more
Why is
because
that?
Everton is currently on 8th position and then Chelsea is on 6th position. So what it means is both teams are on the top 10. So when you have both teams playing, it's going to be a very tough game. Chelsea need to win that game if they want to boost their chances of making top 4. A draw for them, a loss for them is not going to be a good result because they are currently trailing by 1 point. They are 1 point behind Liverpool. Liverpool is on 49 points. Villa is on 51 points. As currently, Manchester United has 55 points. So what it means is that Manchester United is 7 points ahead of Chelsea. So they need to close the gap if they want to stand any chance of making the top 4. So it's a very, very important game. And Everton, the win for them means they also might stand a chance. Even if it's playing the Conference League, they wouldn't mind. So it's a game that both sides will take very serious tomorrow. The issue is that Everton has gotten more rest than Chelsea because Chelsea played the game on Tuesday. Everton, I think the last time they played was last weekend. So they have more rest. They will look more fresher than Chelsea. But
I think it'll be interesting. Chelsea's been on a slide. I mean, they lost last week to Newcastle. They lost twice against PSG. I think that a more experienced side is able to forget about those losses a lot easier than a younger side that Chelsea is. And so I honestly don't think that Chelsea. I think Chelsea. I've said this consistently the last 2 months is the 6th best team in this country, and there's probably going to end up in 6th, in my opinion. And they have to learn to adjust their expectations because their squad isn't. I don't feel like is up to par for barely qualifying for Champions League is their best scenario with this squad, and we'll see what happens to the rest of the season. I agree that's an exciting game. Obviously, as a Brentford supporter, that game informs me. Should I be looking? Am I more worried that Everton catching us, or am I looking at Chelsea and being like we can catch them because we're in 7th right now?
yes,
Honestly,
Brentford 7.
I think Brentford is the favorite to finish in 7th. I would die. I would snatch your hand off for 7th right now. It'd be exciting.
So you should be praying that Chelsea wins tomorrow so that Everton doesn't get close to you.
You know, exactly. Yeah, that's right. I think we have a fighting chance to catch Chelsea. I think Chelsea's a better team than us. I back Brentford to get 7th though. It should be exciting. I think again I think it's great that we have such an exciting relegation race, George. We have Tottenham, Nottingham Forest on Sunday. I think that'll inform so much. I do think if there's a loser in this game, especially if it's a loser that loses in a completely boring way, like not even trying, that team would then be the favorite to go down. We have West Ham is probably going to drop, has a very difficult game tomorrow. We have on Sunday, sorry. And so it just and then of course Leeds plays one of the most difficult teams in the league, Brentford, but they're at home tomorrow. I do think that game will end up in a draw. But Tottenham non-Forest will certainly inform the relegation race, and I think it will be a really exciting game.
Well, for Tottenham against Nottingham Forest, with the way Tottenham is playing now, I feel they are beginning to find their form under Igor Tudor. Remember, they got their first win under his tutelage. That was in the game against Atletico Madrid.
I mean, it does matter for confidence, but like, is that really a win when like not they've already lost the tie and like you win? Like, does that really count as a win?
No, you can't say it's not a. Let me tell you, if Atletico Madrid hadn't put in much effort in that game, if you are not you'll be surprised they will turn the table around. So they took the game serious because ask yourself, Tottenham was able to score 3 goals.
George,
Atletico scored 2.
every team takes every game serious. That's not a. You can't just say this team took this team seriously. What I'm saying is that like it was a dead rubber. If you lose, if you're losing 8-2 and you score a goal and you make it 8-3, is that should you take confidence from that goal? I'm not so sure as a player you would. I think, yeah, I want to see one more data point before I claim that Tottenham has a better mentality, because I was really impressed with their mentality against Liverpool last week. I will say that. I want to see one more data point and see them doing against Forest before I say I think they can really get out of this.
No, I believe they will get confidence from getting a draw against Liverpool. Anfield is not a place you go and get results. They got at least a draw from there, and then they defeated Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid are not pushovers. So I feel that is a good motivation for them as they go to play against Nottingham Forest. And don't forget, Nottingham Forest played on Thursday. So when it comes to freshness, Tottenham will be more, they will look more fresh going into that game than Nottingham Forest that played on Thursday, because Nottingham Forest played most of their regulars in that game. So fatigue might even play a major role. Mind you, they played away. They played away from home. So that is even what it means is that they traveled and they will have to come back to the UK to prepare for the next game against Tottenham. Tottenham played at home to Atletico Madrid. So they didn't make any travel. So what it means is they have more advantage in times of freshness and getting more prepared for that game. I see Tottenham getting, at least they will get a win in that game. The worst they can get is a draw.
I think what's interesting too is that like among all these relegation candidates, they're all picking up roughly a point a game. We've seen relegation races the last couple of years where all the teams at the bottom lose every single week, so nothing really changes. We are seeing a lot of these teams pick up a lot of points. I mean, even a point a game at the bottom of the table is a lot. All these teams are going to end up on 35 points-ish. So a win, I mean, the last couple of years, if you have a 6-point gap, you would consider that safe, when I don't even I would not consider a 6-point gap safe. I think Palace is probably safe at this point, being 10 points up, but Leeds probably still very much in that mix. So it's exciting, and even a win probably wouldn't put them at 100% safety. So it's exciting just to see a race at the bottom and to see two teams. Hopefully, I hope there's a result, like a 3-pointer, just so that the other West Ham can sweat a little bit. I'd love to see them push more throughout the rest of the season.
I just have this feeling that Nottingham Forest might be that third team that will be joining Burnley and Wolves in the league. They will join them in going back to the Championship. That's the feeling I have. Because I've tried to analyze all the teams in the relegation zone apart from Burnley and the Wolves. If you look at Leeds looks like that team that can't escape. West Ham also look like that team, because if you look at it, there's that upward progress with West Ham. But Nottingham Forest, I'm still not yet convinced that they've not been consistent with play. So it might be that team that will get relegated.
We'll see. That's why they play the games. Well, all right, we'll talk more tomorrow, George. We'll talk about results. We'll talk about final of the Carabao Cup, which is on Sunday. I'm excited to talk about that. Let me close out with our standard questions. Number one was the Ahmad situation, a penalty. Let us know your thoughts. I think George and I both agree it's debatable. And both probably agree. George, I think, has a stronger opinion. Thinks it should be a penalty. I think penalty more often than not, but not necessarily. I think we all agree it's consistency. What are your thoughts? Is that a penalty? Let us know. Number 2, what game most excites you this weekend? George is obviously excited for Chelsea Everton. I'm excited for Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham. And number 3, who's your man of the match in the Bournemouth versus Manchester United match today? Let us know your thoughts. We'll see you tomorrow.